Hello again, and for today we are going to be delving into more of a political commentary for this channel. As I turned the page to start recording this one, I just kind of giggled to myself at the fucking title of this one, and B, just the level of diversity that I've seen lately, just in the media. It's been really funny to witness this whole train come crashing down as a result of the coronavirus or the Chinese virus outbreak. And, oh my fucking god, it's just too funny. So over the weekend, while I was taking a break from doing all this commentary shit, I ended up watching at least 5 episodes of The Witcher, and it's a fantasy show based on a series of novels that take place in a fantasy medieval Poland. And if you know anything about Polish history, they did not have lots of civilized engagement with the rest of the world until way later. And you can tell through the historical appearances of the Slavic and Polish people in like the Roman history and the Greek history and the history of Europe on the continent as a whole. You don't see a lot of Polish stories being told, and it's very simply because they were so isolated from the rest of these cultures. And yet, here we are with a Netflix show for this book that's also a very popular video game, in which there are clearly minority characters in this show that's supposed to take place in a fantasized version of medieval Poland. Now, should that necessarily mean that, people of different backgrounds can't be in this? Yes and no. But the whole problem is that Netflix has been pushing for this kind of corporate forced diversity into every single project that they put out. I mean, just for starters, you have the rumored debacle with Stranger Things, where Uma Thurman's daughter, who I believe plays Robin, and her name is Maya Hawke, or I could be getting those two mixed up. Anywho, they were going to have her date Steve, and when I mean the showrunners, the Duffer Brothers, and Netflix came down hard, and this is according again to fucking some rumors on set that Netflix demanded having a lesbian character in Stranger Things. And as a result, that's what caused Robin to be a lesbian in that fucking, like, grindingly show-stopping moment where you just realize that you are not totally integrated with the story anymore, and your immersion has been completely broken because they're trying, again, to force this diversity down your throat. I also watched the most recent episode of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, in which a modern mixed race looking woman and her sister, who's also modern and mixed race looking, were seen as lead characters next to Ahsoka Tano, who is returning to the show after an absence in the last season of produced episodes for Netflix. And this is on Disney Plus now, so it's not really their agenda thing. It's just more of a culture enforced kind of diversity at this point. Because you look at some of the older episodes of the Clone Wars and you see like the rich biodiversity of aliens, and then you get to this episode and it's like the newer aliens that they show, which is these essentially these goons, are not really all that special looking. They look like Neil Scanlan designs from the fucking Force Awakens. So it's just like, again, where is that actual like artistic representation that you saw in not only the original trilogy but the prequels? You don't see it anymore, and you see instead a bland, reality-based looking science fiction show instead with these two characters. It's just like, that's the kind of stuff that can be easily replicated so that cosplayers can feel special and, write these like really incredibly preachy posts on Instagram. And it's just like, I'm fucking sick of it. But apparently so is the rest of the world. So let's tie this into events. Borders are essentially closed now due to the coronavirus outbreak. And as a result, you see that people actually do believe in the rule of law. They do believe in having borders and not, just reading BuzzFeed listicles of, 12 photos that will make you say fuck having laws and borders and shit. And, as a result, we have seen that this doesn't work. This fucking grand globalization project doesn't work. It is leading to our downfall specifically because of these globalist initiatives to, bring more people in that aren't really homogenous with the land they're moving into. And they are definitely not homogenous with the culture that they're moving into. And, we can talk all day and night about fucking England when it comes to this subject. However, it's known, okay? And the fact that only because of a disease coming out of some biolab in Wuhan or a meat market in Wuhan, China, are we realizing that this is the problem that we are facing as a result of massive globalization efforts? And so, you want real examples of this? Well, not only were Chinese being allowed into Italy by order of the Italian government as H-1B style workers for some of these companies, there were also efforts pushed by the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, to combat racism by hugging Chinese people. And it's not that they are genetically carriers of this disease. However, as we know from some of the reports that are coming out now, all this increased contact is just going to make more people get sick from this. And, it's like weeks before this started, there were all these migrants coming in from Turkey to go to Greece. And, they're obviously from all kinds of regions in the world. And yet Greece said no, and the people fucking stood back there attacking journalists, destroying equipment, because they don't want this globalization push on them. It is killing these countries. And only now, because everyone is having to face the consequences of the world they created, are they realizing that this project has failed. I mean, if the Brexit initial election, as well as the Donald Trump 2016 election in the general for the United States of America, did not say as much, if the election of Jair Bolsonaro didn't say as much, if the rise in popularity for people like Marine Le Pen and Matteo Salvini didn't say this, and especially after last year with fucking Boris Johnson getting elected to Parliament to become the new Prime Minister of the UK, I mean, what is it going to fucking take with these people, these fucking globalists who believe that their 90s NAFTA fucking United Nations kumbaya John Lennon's imagined world that they were trying to create has completely collapsed in on itself? At what point are these people going to fucking realize that this shit has failed humanity? It's just baffling to me at this point. So in conclusion, I think I'm going to wrap it up here and state that, if we do not get this under control, it will lead to more death. And the more that the media rambles about fucking suspected racism, as I'd put it, because, people are, A, being awoken to the horrors of globalization, B, people are awoken to the horrors of the Chinese Communist Party. The more they call all of that racism, the more people will realize that the media is just full of shit. So to all of the people who really wanted this globalization project to work and who are now having to suffer the consequences of their actions, if you do not tread lightly, this will only get worse.